the terrifying and incredible life story of King Firaun. A king who said, "O Bani Israel, I am your greatest creator, you must worship me alone." A king whose body has amazingly stayed untouched for over 3,000 years. He could eat a young camel in one day, yet he never fell sick. But his strength, his wealth, and his arrogance began to poison him. He would become the most cruel ruler ancient Egypt had ever seen, feared even by the gods, or so he claimed. Firaun was no ordinary king. He didn't simply rule Egypt, he demanded that everyone bow before him as a living god. Every temple, every statue, every grand monument proclaimed his divine status. Children were taught to fear him. Adults trembled at the mere mention of his name. To Firaun, humans were not people. They were tools, objects to be used and discarded. Entire bloodlines lived and died building monuments to his ego. The city of Memphis, Egypt's capital, was the heart of his empire, and it pulsed with both awe and terror. Streets crowded with laborers echoed with the sound of whips, chains, and stone blocks being dragged across sand. Workers collapsed from exhaustion, only to be prodded back to work. Their suffering was invisible to Firaun because he never saw his people as human. He saw them as extensions of his power, mere instruments for the display of his glory. Even his feasts were grotesque spectacles. Historians report that Firaun would consume massive amounts of food daily, enough to feed a small village. Young camels roasted whole, rivers of wine, mountains of bread, yet he never became ill. It was as if his body was a living testament to excess, and yet that same excess hardened his heart. His strength, his supposed invincibility, fed a sense of immortality and a desire to control everything and everyone. Firaun's cruelty extended beyond labor. He taxed the people mercilessly, taking more than half of their crops, livestock, and wealth. Farmers starved while his granaries overflowed. Families had no choice but to comply, for resistance meant death. Children worked from dawn until dusk, carrying stones and bricks far heavier than their tiny bodies should bear. Those who faltered were punished in public, whipped until they bled. Some never rose again, but tyranny, no matter how clever, often sows the seeds of its own destruction. Among the enslaved Bani Israel, a man arose who would challenge him, Prophet Musa. Musa came not with armies, but with a message of justice and freedom, a mission from God. He demanded that Firaun release the enslaved people to let them go free. Firaun, laughing in his golden throne, mocked him. "Do you think your God can defeat me? I am the Creator. I am the one who gives life." His heart, hardened by arrogance, refused to bend. Every miracle, every warning, every plague that struck Egypt only strengthened his pride. Rivers turned to blood. Frogs swarmed the land. Locusts devoured crops. Darkness covered the cities. But Firaun remained stubborn. The plagues were more than punishment. They were messages, yet he ignored them. Blinded by ego and fear of losing control, he ordered his magicians to replicate the miracles, hoping to show his people that his power was greater. But even the greatest trickery could not hide the truth. His arrogance had made him blind to reality, deaf to warnings, and cruel to the very people who built his empire. The tension between Firaun and Musa escalated. As the Bani Israel prepared to flee, Firaun's pride would not allow it. He mobilized his army and pursued them relentlessly. Chariots thundered across the desert sands, a storm of iron and leather against people who sought only freedom. Yet what Firaun did not understand was that his power could not overcome divine justice. At the shores of the Red Sea, the final confrontation unfolded. Musa raised his staff, and the waters split, forming walls of water on either side, a path for the oppressed to escape. The Bani Israel fled in awe and terror, their hearts pounding with hope and fear. Firaun, furious and determined to crush them, led his army into the waters, certain of his invincibility. But the sea was not merely water. It was a force of divine retribution. The waters collapsed upon Firaun and his soldiers. History records that his body was preserved, a reminder for generations to come. His fall was complete. The man who claimed to be God was gone, drowned by the very elements he believed he could control. Firaun's story isn't just about cruelty, it's a lesson in the limits of power. His obsession with being worshipped and his ruthless rule led to his downfall.